If you suddenly went blind while driving home, how long would it take before you stopped caring about the law? I think for most of us, the answer is as long as the law still serves us. But what does that mean? Or let's even raise the stakes a little more. What if everyone went blind? How long would it take for society to completely fall apart? That's the premise of Blindness by Jose Saramago. It's a novel about what happens when a city is hit by a mysterious epidemic of white blindness and how fast our systems unravel when no one can see. In their blindness, people do things that they once thought unthinkable and learn disturbing things about themselves. Their identities become ill-defined. Now, full disclosure, I had a hard time writing this video. That's why it took so long. I try to focus on a key idea from the book I read that week, but blindness is so razor-focused in its themes and so unified in what it's doing that I kind of felt cornered. It's not ideal for an ADHD brain. But overall, I enjoyed the novel. It could be a joke, but it's probably more of an aesthetic choice. The blindness is hyper-visual. The small, crowded rooms are clearly described, and I found myself tracking the spaces with a rare clarity. As characters started going blind, I caught myself straining my eyes as if to convince myself that my vision was still crystal clear. Let's talk plot. There are spoilers ahead. The story starts when a man suddenly goes blind while sitting in traffic. Just like that, his vision's gone, replaced, in Saramago's words, by a sea of milk. A stranger helps him home, then immediately steals his car. It's interesting that the first case of blindness happens at a stoplight. I read the light as a symbol of order and of societal organization. The man can no longer parse the structure in front of him, and he immediately becomes useless and childlike. This pattern comes up again and again throughout the book. The next day, the blind man visits an eye doctor, and soon everyone he's been in contact with goes blind, including the doctor, other patients, and the car thief. It spreads fast. Now, no one in this book has a name. People are just the doctor, or the girl with the dark glasses, or the boy with the squint, or the first blind man. It's a deliberate choice that strips away identity. It demonstrates the way that society validates our identities and how we project our identities outwards. Without names and sight and the structure of everyday life, characters wonder how they're supposed to act, or how they're even supposed to project themselves. Their actions seem out of character to even themselves, and they wonder at their own personal limits. The government responds to the outbreak by quarantining the infected in an abandoned asylum. Soldiers guard the gates, shooting to kill, and inside, things degrade quickly. Food is unreliable, toilets break, people live in filth. You'd think a novel about blindness wouldn't be so visual, but it's also clear and vivid. The mess, the desperation, the shit on the floors, it's disgusting. A gang in the asylum takes control of the food supply with a single gun, demanding valuables and then later sex in exchange for rations. The doctor's wife, the only person you can still see, becomes the moral center of the small group. When the gang threatens them one too many times, she kills the leader. Soon after, the asylum is set on fire. The group escapes into a city collapsed. Everyone's blind, corpses are in the streets, institutions are broken. There's no power, no food, no order. They find shelter in the doctor's home and try to survive, sharing what they have, helping each other bathe, trying to hold on to some sense of dignity. And then the blindness ends as suddenly as it began. The doctor's wife looks out at the wrecked city, realizing that the epidemic revealed how fragile civilization is. I kept thinking about how the novel treats the state as a blind, vulnerable body. When people go blind, so does the state. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the state was never really seeing in the first place. That's what the ending suggests, to me at least, when the doctor says that nobody could really see before the epidemic. The collectivized mass of people is the state. Saramago suggests that the state isn't some distant power, it's the people collectivized. When we lose vision, so does the system we make up. One thing I struggled with here was tracking the dialogue. There are no quotation marks, no he said, she said, just dialogue woven into long paragraphs with a capital letter as your only clue. It can be a little disorienting, and the characters often feel like they're bleeding into each other. But this might be the point. The unnamed narrator filters everything through his own singular lens. The sense of individual identity fades, characters blend into each other, and besides their physical traits or their old jobs, the characters lacked individuality to me. At the very end, the Doctor wonders whether they were ever really blind, or whether they were just blind to each other and the way we should be living, and even to the nature of the systems around them. Maybe the epidemic didn't change people, maybe it just revealed them. The biggest question for me was this: are we who we are because of our values and choices, or because of what our systems tell us to be? I think this is what Saramago wrote the novel to explore, and I can't tell you what the answer is, but I'd love to hear what you think. That's it from me today, but I'll see you all next week. Let me know what you thought of the novel, and don't forget to like and subscribe.